Okay. All right. So welcome back, everybody. So here's this evening's agenda. When Ned gets here, I'm going to let him speak for about 5 minutes on something that I did not know about food prep that he's got. I'm going to go into radio and cover a few issues, and then I'm going to open it up for any kind of questions, concerns, challenges. Next week is going to be the last one. It's going to be of an open forum. Um, I'll just start it off with tonight that there's a lot going on with two assassination attempts for Trump and then explosives that were found. And I mean, everybody's getting really, really desperate. And I'm starting to see a lot of hostility. Even riding home today with the motorcycle and the two dogs, I had somebody get really, really indignant with me. I sort of blew it off, but I think it's going to get really crazy. And so I'm not really here. And part of the mission statement is not to talk about current events, but you need to keep your ear to the ground and listen to social media. Don't listen to the mainstream media because things are going to get frothy, I think. Um, and hey, Michael, and I'll also say that I've been really busy. This group is important to me, but I have things that have been taking my time that are time sensitive and more important with standing up the republic. And if you don't know what that is, I don't have time to go into that, but I've got some time sensitive issues that I'm working on. So is Ned here yet? Okay, he's not here. He may not show up, so I'm just going to keep going and he can interrupt me. So let me first just do a poll. If you have a GMRS radio, tell me your first name. I know Chris does, and I know Ruth does. Anybody else on this have a GMRS radio? Hey, Lee. And I know Lee has GMRS radio. We've done radio checks. I know Anita has one, but nobody lives down south by her. Anybody else? Okay. Besides Lee and myself, who has a GMRS license and got their GMRS license?
I've got mine.
Okay. So what's your call sign, Ruth?
Oh, I'll have to get it. I'll
Well,
go
you
get
can have
it.
it memorized. That's all right. So, um, if you
Do you
don't have
want
a
it?
GMRS license, you're not supposed to be able to transmit. And so it's only $35. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass. Ruth got stuck. She called me, but she figured it out mostly on her own. I think they make it difficult on purpose.
Do
So,
you want the number or do you want me to wait and give it to you later?
no, just give it to me. So it's Whiskey Sierra Echo what?
Oh, wait a minute. I don't have it. Go ahead and talk.
So, if you join the call a little bit late, I did a radio check today on GMRS, and everybody knows where I live, I think. But I was able to get with my little handheld, I was able to communicate with somebody in Monument. Um, and so let me decline this call.
I'm sorry, I don't have it. I thought you meant the FRN number. I don't have the call number.
Oh, that's because you got the FRN. Yes, you got that yesterday. So you'll be able to go on to the website and look up in the licensing database and find out what your call sign is after 24 hours.
Okay.
Okay, so go do that. Um, so I was able to do a radio check to Monument. The reason I was able to go that far is because of line of sight. He was on Monument Hill, which is much higher than we are. It's good line of sight, but I can't get more than 2 or 3 miles south of me, and I can't get out to Falcon because there's too many hills in between us. So,
Can you hear me now?
yeah, who's that?
This is Michael Armstrong.
Hey, yeah, we can hear you.
My audio was messed up. I've got four GMRS radios.
Okay, and do you have a license, GMRS
I do have
license?
a license. I got it last week.
Okay, what's your call sign?
WSEM 816.
Is that
Whiskey Samuel Echo Michael
and what were the three numbers?
816.
Okay.
I need some help with them. I'm highly technical and I've reprogrammed. I had to reprogram my Balfungs
Uh-huh.
because they didn't come with a setup like I told you
No,
last week.
the valve phones don't come pre-programmed. The GMRS
Yeah.
do. And so I'll talk a little bit about radios here in the beginning. So one thing that we're going to do, we're having an exercise on Saturday. Um, you're not going to know what time, you're not going to know where. But when you do respond to that drill, please bring your GMRS radio with you, and you're going to be on channel 15. So channel 15 on GMRS is what we're going to be using as PR, as people's rights. Okay. And then what you do is on the way to the event, just say, hey, this is so and so with people's rights. Anybody listening? Anybody hear me? And you can use first name. You're only required to give your call sign once every 15 minutes. Okay. And that way you can find out where they are and what maybe you can estimate what your range is, but I want you to get used to practicing using them. Okay. And so Michael
Sure.
has one, Ruth has one, Anita has one, um, I will have one, Michael or Lee has one. And so that's five right there. Okay.
I can bring extras if you want.
No, I don't think you need to. I mean, that's five, and that's pretty good. And all of those people have GMRS licenses, which means you're not violating any laws,
Okay.
or you're not violating any codes, I should say, by transmitting on it. So we'll do that's called a COMEX, a communication exercise. If things get really spicy and really crazy, what I will do, I'm just letting you know now, I will use my ham radio or I can't I don't think I can't get on GMRS on my ham radio, but I'll pick a frequency that's in the ham radio band, and you can, if you have a Baofeng, you'll be able to at least listen to that frequency. And if it gets that to that point, then I'll just be passing information. It's pretty much going to be one-way communication because I don't think anybody besides me has a ham radio license, but I can at least transmit information and tell you when to go to GMRS. But the GMRS is going to have very limited range. I'm only going to be able to communicate with my neighbors pretty much. Michael, where do you live?
Austin Bluffs and Academy.
Okay, so you can hear me on GMRS.
Do
Okay.
you transmit always on channel 15?
No.
Okay.
So I sent everybody this. Okay. I sent it to your email. Can you everybody see this?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this has all the GMRS frequencies on it, and it also has some repeater information on there, and I'll cover that next week.
I did
Look
not
at the
get that.
bottom here. There is a frequency that's in the VHF band, and it's you have to have a ham radio license to transmit there. And maybe we'll do something like this for GMRS, but for people's rights, we go to channel 15, and then if you want to go to a different channel after you establish communications on channel 15, then you just tell each other where you're going. Okay. But this 146,560 is like a universal radio check frequency on ham radio, and then you can tell whoever you pick up there to go to a different channel. So we'll do the same thing on GMRS. Okay. If you need to
I
get
did not get that.
say again.
I did not get that. This is Michael.
Yeah.
Uh,
He just sent it out, Michael.
yeah, I just
Oh, I'm
sent-
sorry. Okay.
That's
I
right.
just checked
Yeah. So
my email an hour ago.
I also sent you, this is not related to communication, so I'm not going to talk about that until a little bit later. But go to YouTube and look at a couple short videos on GMRS repeaters so that when next week you sort of understand what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, a GMRS repeater, you have to program that into your radio, your GMRS radio, because they have a tone for transmit and receive, and you can get smart on that later. But the point is, you need to practice with that. Just because there's a GMRS repeater, and you can see here, this was taken off of my repeater website, and there's supposed to be 4 in Colorado Springs, but only 1 is active. And I'll tell you which one it is, and you can send an email. I'll show you. Bring up this website next week, and you have to request permission to use it. But just because they have a GMRS repeater, and we'll cover the location, doesn't mean that you're going to be able to reach it with your radio. Okay. Maybe you can, because it should be higher up, and I'll give you the information on that repeater next week. Any other questions on GMRS radios or anything related to that before we move to the next subject? Is Ned here yet? All right, he's probably not going to make it. So
Hey, Brian, do you have an SWR meter?
I do, but I don't hook it to a hand radio. I do.
Okay, never mind.
They're
That's
built
okay.
in, they're built into my ham radios, and then I have a separate standalone ham radio, but I mean, that's used for very large coax cable.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay.
Brian, can you tell me again how to get that call
How to do
sign?
what?
How
Oh,
to
you
get
just
the,
go to the fcc.gov
uh-huh,
and you're going to do a license lookup.
license lookup. Okay. I'll do it after this.
Okay. It should be available 24 hours after you paid for your license.
Okay.
You paid with a
Yeah,
credit.
it's real quick.
I think it's about 24 hours now. I think it was about 8
Okay.
o'clock last night.
I mean, if not, it should
They
be there.
send you emails too.
Oh, they do? Okay, I'll look in
Well,
that.
they didn't
Yes.
send me an email. I didn't wait on their email. I just went and got it. And so it's going to start with WSE, Whiskey Sierra Echo.
WSE,
Like
okay.
Michael's has an M816 and mine is Juliet 753. What's yours, Lee?
I have to run and get it. I'll be right back.
No, that's all right. Don't worry about it. You don't need to worry about it. I just thought you might have it memorized. Okay. So now let's go on. And something that I mentioned earlier last time, which we talked about food prep, is this Garden Tower 2. I sent everybody an email with a link so you can go look about it. Why I think it's important. It's 6 cubic feet of soil. You get worms with it, and the worms go through that soil and penetrate. It holds 14 gallons of water, and you can plant 50 plants in it.
Wow.
And there's over 12,000 of these things in use across the United States. It's made in the USA. It's BPA plastic friendly. The only thing you have to purchase with it, obviously, is the plants. And then you need a full spectrum LED grow light. So what I did not have time to do this week is research those grow lights. Real quick on Amazon, I looked, they're anywhere from $30 to $80. I don't know how much you're going to need. They don't use very much electricity. So if you have a solar generator, you can run them in the winter. But even if we don't lose power, I think that's something good you can bring in your house, give you something to do during the winter and have fresh, really good organic herbs, vegetables. You'll be able to grow it all year. And the water, it creates a T in the bottom. You take your kitchen scraps, you put it in the soil, the worms churn it up. It's all recycling, the circle of life, Hakuna Matata kind of stuff. And so I will give you the information on repeaters next week. And I'm going to give you the information on the LED grow lights. And if you decide you want to grow something else for doomsday to barter with, like cannabis, that's up to you. I think I'd rather have food than cannabis.
So what was the name of that grow thing you're talking about?
I sent you an email. It's in your
Okay.
email. It's called Garden Tower 2. Okay. My daughter has one. I'm going to go look at it. She swears by it. One less, so let me go back and I'm just touching, and I'm going to open up for questions shortly. But one thing I did is I went to the range with Ned and his wife, and he sent everybody an email, and you can see some of the lessons that we learned. Another one I learned is that my wife, she has a concealed carry weapon, and she went to pull it out, and she couldn't even rack the slide, even though I'd taught her how. The reason she couldn't is because she hasn't cleaned it in over a year. So one of the things that I do is I periodically clean my weapons, but here's what I learned. I'm going to clean my everyday concealed carry weapons because I have several of them on the 1st of the month. Take it out. If you don't know how to clean a weapon, you can look at a YouTube video on how to clean your weapon. It's real easy. I see Ned just joined us. So we've covered communications. We've covered the Garden Tower 2. I'm going to turn it over to Ned, who's going to talk about something, and I'll give him about 5 minutes or so. Ned, welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Brian. Sorry, I'm late. I'm sitting in the Shields parking lot, and I thought I had Zoom, and I had to re-download the stupid app. So anyway, folks, sorry for being tardy. Hey, I just wanted to touch on emergency food and food storage. This question came up from another Patriot last night at our weekly meeting, and he was asking me, hey, what's the best emergency food? And my answer is my own. Now I know everybody can't run out and buy the large version of the Harvest Right freeze dryer. It's not a dehydrator. It is a freeze dryer, which means it removes 100% of the moisture from the food, and it does it at sub-zero temperatures. So once you put it in the Mylar bag and seal it with the oxygen absorber, depending on what you have, pretty much everything but meat will keep for about 25 years. If you're doing meats like chicken or beef, and you have to be very careful with this, otherwise you'll end up getting botulism. It's kind of like when you're canning meat. You have to boil the meat and get all the fat off. You can't have any bones. And I highly recommend sticking with something that is a very low fat content to begin with. So like the 90 to 10% ground beef. Or if you're going to use chicken, get some chicken breasts, skinless, boneless.
No beef brisket.
No beef brisket. I'm sorry, but believe me, that if you got a freezer and a generator, that might be one thing. I'll try and touch on that here. I know I'm already 2 minutes in. So,
What did you call it? Harvest Right?
Harvest Right. It's RIGHT.
Thank
The
you.
thing,
And
the thing with those is they're expensive. They're 3,500 or more, and you
if you
have
get
to,
the large ones,
right.
the large ones, the
But
thing
you,
about the large ones, and I'm sorry to interrupt, sir, but they also take a 20 amp outlet. Okay,
yes,
so not
dedicated.
everybody has those, but if you get a small or a medium, you can run those off a 10 amp outlet, which is pretty much common throughout any household, any modern household now. Um, for those who have friends in the military, if you want to go to Big R, they do give you a discount. It's not much, but it'll cover most of the taxes you're going to pay on these things. And I know everybody, especially nowadays, doesn't have exactly, 25, 2,700, $3,000 to go spend on a freeze dryer. But if you can do the math and figure it out, I highly recommend it because it is a long-term investment. It's something that it pays itself off with dividends in the long run. The other thing I wanted to point out is with a lot of these what is it? Ready Wise, the emergency seafood, the Ready Wise. Yeah, it's called Ready Wise. I'm going to give you a good example. The meat bucket, and I just looked this up last night for our buddy Mark. It's $214 on Amazon. A couple of years ago, they were about 150, and I got like two of them. And until I read the fine print and said, "Oh, holy cow! There's only 50 servings, and each serving is only 50 calories." Okay, so that's yeah, you're going to go hungry by the time you finish eating that serving. So that's why I strongly encourage getting your own freeze dryer, doing your own freeze dried foods. Um, Something simple and easy, spaghetti with sauce and meat and a little bit of Parmesan. You can make tons of that stuff, and pennies on the dollar. I mean, you can literally go to the dollar store, get a can of ravioli, or you can get the cheap stuff from Costco in bulk, if you're not too concerned about where the meat comes from. And you can just get dozens and dozens of pounds of pasta, and you can just sit there and make spaghetti to your heart's content. You could literally live off of that for months.
Yeah.
Now, if you're on a budget, I strongly recommend, and I know I'm hitting my time limit here, go to the dollar store, beans and rice. You're going to get your carbs, you're going to get your protein, you're going to get some fiber. That's about what you're going to need to survive. Is it going to suck? Yeah, because it's plain and it's boring and there's nothing sexy about it. But I will tell you right now, it's going to keep you alive and it'll keep you fed.
Yeah.
And with that, Mark, I'm going to turn it back over to you, sir.
Suggest
I'm sorry,
suggestion.
Brian.
Hey,
Yes.
real quick. So the small freeze dryer, $22.95, and it holds 6 to 10 pounds. The medium is $28.95, and it will process 10 to 15 pounds. And then the large one is $35.95, and that'll process 18 to 27 pounds. So Ned, how long did it take you to process when you're using it?
So I've got the large, which holds five trays. To do, for example, spaghetti, 5 trays of spaghetti. I think the prep work took me about 90 to 120 minutes. The whole process, if you freeze it first for a couple of hours and then throw it in the freeze dryer, I think I was looking around 18 to 20 hours to knock out 5 trays of spaghetti and pasta.
So I'm looking online right now, and the large freezer has 6 trays now. The medium has 5 trays, and the small has 4 trays.
Well, maybe they've upped their game.
Yeah, maybe.
And Ned, what about the oil?
No oils, no fats.
No, what about the oil that you need for the freeze dryer?
Oh, okay. So with that, you can run on average about 25 cycles through the. I want to say it's the prime pump. So it's not the base model. It's the prime, or the premier, whatever you want to call it. You can run 25 cycles, and then you can pour that out. There's actually a filter that you can use, and you can reuse that oil one time, and then you go and change the oil. I've had my freeze dryer for 2 years, and I haven't changed the oil yet.
Yeah, I mean, that large one, if you're processing 25 pounds, I mean,
I've
you're,
got a
you're
lot of freeze dried food.
yeah, that you could do 500, 750 pounds of food before you'd have to change the oil.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thanks, Ned.
You betcha.
So,
Sorry, Brian.
that's all right.
Brian,
That's all right. Hey, you showed up. Mission complete.
check that box.
I'm just looking in the chat. Okay, so Whiskey Sierra Echo Mike 816. I see your call sign. And by the way, Ned has GMRS and he knows his call sign too. So we're gonna do that combo exercise on Saturday whenever that drill is. And so Ned, if you want to be on channel 15 on Saturday, you may hear a bunch of people yakking.
Whiskey
Yeah, I'll
Romeo.
chime in.
Where's the call going to go out? Is it going to go out on Telegraph, or is it going to go out?
So I talked to Jason today. It's going to go out on Telegraph. It's going to go out via text message, and it's going to go out via email.
Oh, great.
And so you're going to get no notice. It's going to be like, here's the call, go. And so if it takes you 5 minutes to get on the road, fine. If it takes you 20 minutes to get on the road, fine. But you'll be
And-
told when and where. And you're not
Hey,
going to
Brian.
went on until you get there. Yeah,
Can I have 30 more seconds, sir?
sure.
Okay, so if a freeze dryer is way out of your budget, what I would recommend is looking into canning. And there's a pressure cooker called the All American. It's made by the Amish. It's sold on Amazon and about a dozen other websites. It's about $500 or $600. Highly recommended. There's tons of videos on YouTube on how to can and how to freeze dry. If you're not sure how to do it, look, you can fly by the seat of your pants like I did, and I learned real quick. It's pretty intuitive. I highly recommend it. All right, and with that, Brian, I'm done for the night.
That's fine. And if you're really, really, really don't want to spend money, you can just go buy a regular canning thing at the store for about $30 or $40, but then you're going to have to boil water and it's very energy and it takes a long time. So the pressure cooker saves a lot of time. Gosh, everybody's calling me tonight. Let me reject this. Hold on, decline. So that's one way that you can do it is, and Lehman's has great canning supplies. It's Amish. I would get a canning Bible. You can get the canning Bible on Amazon, Lehman's canning Bible, that has everything that you're going to need in there. So again, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of patriots that are doing a lot of really, really good work. If you have not heard of the Republic, I recommend, and I can send out a link to their website, but I recommend you go look at it and consider signing up for right here in Colorado and El Paso County. That's totally up to you, but I'll send that link out to everybody. There's a lot of people involved in that. Some people here that we've heard tonight, and people all across the state and literally all across the nation. So there's some really important things going on right now, which is taking up my time. So let's open it up for the little time we have left. I want to see what people are struggling with, or what questions they have, or what concerns, or what they want us to cover next week besides repeaters and grow lights.
I have just an observation. I am stocking shelf-stable cans of chili. That's what I've picked as a food that has all the food groups in it. And I'm stocking up on a whole lot of that until I can get one of these food processing systems going.
Yeah, those food processing, that's a good point. These food processing systems are for really long term.
Yes.
Right?
And go ahead.
And so, yeah, I've got a pantry full of stuff, but it's all got an expiration date. It might be a year or two down the road. But that's what you need to have a 90-day and 180-day plan. What we've been talking about is a much longer term plan. Again,
Sure,
when
sure.
you can food, it's good for a couple of years. When you freeze dry food, it's good for a long time.
Sure.
And again, you can go in the marketplace and buy MREs. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do, but you got to have more than a week's worth of groceries in your home.
Yeah, I've got 3 months.
And
At least.
typically MREs are good for 5 years, or they'll have a shelf life of 5 years, but they'll last past that.
Yep. And I've got some, and I have to be fucking desperate to eat an MRE because I've eaten too many of them. But yeah, I got them during COVID. I just went on the marketplace and had somebody deliver them because I was all lamed up. So
Yeah. Well, just another thing. I go shooting about twice a month at least,
good for you.
and fairly good. And if anybody needs any gunsmithing, I'm pretty good at that too. So
That's good to know.
What did you say? Any what?
gunsmithing, working
Uh-huh.
on guns. And
Gunsmith.
if you don't know how to clean a gun, I've got all the equipment. And if you need modification to your guns, I can do that. And I
Yeah.
like to do
I've got a box that's 3 feet long and a foot wide and a foot deep full of cleaning supplies.
it.
And you'd like the Smith & Wesson 629-44 Magnum I bought today. You'd really like it.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yes, I've got my call sign. Whiskey Romeo Uniform Tango 365. I'm W Rut 365.
All right.
Whiskey Romeo, what?
Uniform Tango 365. I'm W Rut.
W Rut. That's
It's
cool.
appropriate.
Ned, do you remember your call sign, Ned?
Yeah, Whiskey Sierra Echo Lima 941. Got it committed to memory.
Yep, me too.
I'm going to have to get a tattoo.
On the brain.
My
Yeah,
ham
that
signal
thing,
is
that
real
thing's
easy.
slipping.
My ham call sign's real easy, but nobody here can call me on ham radio, so I won't worry about it. But it's nice to know that I can communicate as far as Washington State, Texas, and Wisconsin. So, and that's another thing. I'm probably going to get involved pretty soon back on this. It's a Western state net. Idaho, Colorado, Wyoming, Arizona, and New Mexico. Just because I need to practice in case we need to pass message traffic. Again, I think that's it. Unless anybody, I'm going to open up one more time for questions, but I highly suggest you keep your ear to the ground on what's going on. And if you don't know, there's a pending World War III going on in Europe, so keep up to date on that. Anybody have anything? Anybody else? I've got 4 minutes before they cut me off.
Hey, Brian. So
Yeah.
just because I do have my certification in open source intelligence. and as a trade analyst in the Navy, I've got my ear to the ground on a lot of stuff, and from multiple sources, and I'm talking more than 10. All these folks are saying the same thing. It could be any day now that they flip the switch. Okay. And it could be lights out. It could be a black flag cyber event or a black swan cyber event. The financial system could come crashing down. It could be 2008 on steroids all over again. It could be any number of scenarios. And plus, with all these gangs that have been pouring in through across the border for I don't know how many years. It hasn't just been the last 4 or 5. It's been for decades. Okay, folks, this is game time. It is no joke. Any day now. If do not get, I don't recommend going anywhere without your everyday carry. If you have a little bag that you keep a taser or your firearm or both, some extra cash, whatever, your get home bag. Have a plan and be ready to execute at any moment. Okay. Over.
Yep. Like Ned said, I mean, there's 50 million illegal aliens in this country. There's only 650,000 law enforcement officers in this country, and they're all concentrated in the big blue cities. And so even if it was 1%, 500,000 people starting to rise up and create hate and discontent and a lot of confusion and mass hysteria during one of these events, you can see how this country would be in chaos. So that's why I had a sense of urgency in starting this group and meeting once a week. And Anita, I know she's not on the call. She works at night, but she keeps her ear to the ground. So pay attention to Telegram, pay attention to Rumble, play things on 1.5 or 2 times speed so you can get it all in, and just be situationally aware when you're out there. Okay.
Remember one thing. There's 30 tons of ammonium nitrate that went missing over a year ago, and they've not been
60.
able to account for it.
It was 60 tons. And
Wow.
just a little trick that I used to use when I was working the watch floor up in Denver. We actually used Twitter, which is now known as X, because we got real time on the ground information. So if you have a Twitter account, great. If not, make a dummy account, use a false email that you don't ever use, that you don't care about. We call that a sock puppet account. And then that way you can kind of avoid giving away your true identity. Okay.
Ned, what are the top 3 channels people should follow on X?
Oh man, I don't even have my list in front of me. OSINT Defender is one.
OSINT Defender.
What's
Yeah,
that?
OSINT. That's open source intelligence. OSINT Defender. DC Drano. And man, if I had to say, I don't have my list in front of me, but Brian, what I'll do is I'll update that list that I sent you, and you can disseminate that out to the group.
That'd be great.
Great.
There's a lot of God-fearing Americans. I wrote this down today. I read this today and I want to share it, and then we're done. I've only got less than a minute. In my opinion,